Fun two people. We want to welcome everybody to Mom and Dad Tells. Our favorite two people are Mom and Dad, and we have a special edition here. We want to welcome our other co-host, Carlin J. Alfred here. What's up, baby? How you doing? And today is with all the craziness in this world, it's gotten crazier. Snoop Dogg is hanging out at the. What do you think about this whole thing with the inauguration thing of Snoop Dogg? Now we've seen this before with Jasmine Sullivan.
Right. This is a little different though.
Okay.
Uh no disrespect to Jasmine Sullivan. I actually like her as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
But she compared to Snoop Dogg or any she's not probably two levels down, maybe three.
Okay.
Right? It was
Look.
there at the time of Trump's first inauguration, they were really struggling to find A-level musicians. Let's be very clear about that. Musicians
Yes.
to perform just because it was just too hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was too toxic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't put Snoop. This is big news because I wouldn't put Snoop on the same level as Jasmine Sullivan.
Okay. After he's the ambassador to the world, look, France brought him over. They paid him $500,000 a day for the Olympics and stuff. So he has global recognition and stuff. And I don't think Snoop was ever an ambassador for so-called black people like that.
I don't know about that. I think Snoop was at some point. Snoop has evolved. He's one of the most curious pop culture cases I think that we have.
Mm-hmm.
He started off as a gangster rapper, right? LA, the back when the East Coast West Coast beef was happening. Mm-hmm. Started off with Death Row Records, right? Had huge success coming out of that. And then with the Biggie and Tupac beef, East Coast West Coast, somehow he's involved. Got out of the situation where his bodyguard killed somebody, right? Claimed he changed his life. Ended up migrating out of music and more into popular culture. Had some roles in some movies, some decent roles, to be honest with you. Then started getting back into music and on the label side of things, started owning his, tried to own his masters and stuff. Yeah. Then decided he wanted to be a community. This is where I kind of maybe not 100% agree with what you're saying. When he started giving back to the community and it had the Snooper Bowl and was really involved in football, youth football. Like he created a whole league on the West Coast that ended up. There are guys in the NFL today who played in Snoop's league, right? And so he created a way out for them, on that. And then, after all of that, went back to music. So even his latest iterations. Think about it in the last 4 years or so. Dude won a Grammy for a gospel album.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, he was never that dude that says, I'm going to hold up the black flag and look out for the community. You know what I'm saying? He was the guy that said, I'm going to look out for you. I'm going to try to show you how to do it. I don't think he's learning it.
I think he did at certain stretches. Got to remember, his godfather is Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band. Okay? Yeah. So he's been a musician his whole life. The gangbanger thing, he never was taught how to build community until he signed with Percy Miller. Until he signed with what's his stage name?
Yeah, I know you're not Percy.
Master P. Right. He said Master P showed him how to be a millionaire. Now, mind you, he had already had all the success with his first albums and things like that. Everybody thought he made all this money. He didn't. Right. It wasn't until later on when Master P took him under his wing, taught him how to manage his money. That's when Snoop started giving back to the community, right?
Let's look at it like this. Snoop is a businessman. I will say that. A very astute businessman. Okay? He does look out for our people. But I think he looks out for all people, not just our people. You see what I'm saying? He's a businessman looking out for everyone, and including his own family. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, we see people that all the time, man. Superintendents, they look like me, but they ain't looking out for me. Hate to tell the truth.
All skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Right. Black faces in high places doesn't mean they're looking out for me. It just means like you're there. What are you doing? Are you making a difference? And you happen to be black, so you should be more sensitive to what we're talking about and stuff. But the reality is, you get into those things, you become a business person. Yeah, you just see green, and when you look at green, you got to go where the money's at. And what I'm saying is, I'm not mad at Snoop for what he did. I understand what he did. There's no money in the black community. That's really what's happening. There's money there, but Carlin, the way we spend it and stuff like that, there's no power in our unity and money.
Sure. So are you referring to him accepting an invitation to perform at?
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So let's be clear on the details here.
Yeah.
He's not actually performing at the inauguration.
Okay.
At the time of this taping, the inauguration is over.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but but I know that it's over.
Uh-huh.
He's performing at the Crypto Ball,
mm-hmm.
which there's a whole nother show you could possibly do on this. That Trump almost became a billionaire again,
right,
by selling his coins with mm-hmm. his face on it and stuff. Yeah. I get, on one hand, I don't hate the player, I hate the game. Mm-hmm. I just can't believe a president is actually, monetizing himself while in office. Now, there's some people that's laudable. They're like, hey, man, he's a hustler, blah, 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 blah. Then there's other pieces like, where's the public servant in this? But anyway.
And that goes to my point. You just made it my point value. You're a businessman, right? So you'll make business moves based on business decisions that hopefully coincide with what you have. And sometimes there's gray lines. Now, if you're a public figure saying that I'm going to look out, now you have some moral things you got to deal with.
Yeah, but the excuse that they're going to use is that politicians, and they're right to a certain degree, politicians have been monetizing things the whole time. They've just been doing it under the table.
But Trump is
doing it out. Trump is doing it out front. So they're like,
but
two wrongs make a right.
And that's the whole problem, right? You're not really a public servant. You're there to take advantage of a situation.
Right.
Public servant's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to look out for everybody, not just for special interest groups like the people claim they do. I'm looking out for America.
Right, but again, their excuse is going to be, well, politicians have been looking out for special interest groups for the entirety of the American government, and they're right to some degree. Again, my point is always going to be do two wrongs make a right, and their answer is two wrongs make a right. So that's it. That's the end of the conversation for me. But back to Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
he's performing at the Crypto Ball, right?
Money.
Which is, it's money. He's going to get paid to do it, but that's not the reason he's doing it. A lot of people don't know this. All right, so if you've never heard this before, I wish you had some breaking news. Maybe you could do that in post-production. All right. 4 years ago, on January the 20th, at the last minute, Donald Trump, in one of his last actions as president, as officially as president, he pardoned, as most presidents do, before they leave office, he pardoned a bunch of people. One of the people he pardoned was a guy named Harry O. Oh. Who is Harry O? Harry O is one of the owners of Death Row Records. Harry O is also best friends with Calvin Brodus, a.k.a. Snoop Dogg. Known him since the early Death Row days, and when Suge Knight went to prison, Harry O took over. Remember, Snoop bought part interest in Death Row Records. So without Harry O, there really is no Death Row Records. So for whatever reasons that Trump did it, he pardoned Harry O, and Snoop Dogg came out 4 years ago today, January the 20th, and thanked Donald Trump for pardoning Harry O. Nobody knows the backstory as to why he did it, why Trump did it, but he did it.
Yeah.
And so this is in contrast to 4 years prior to that. So 8 years ago, Snoop was asked if he would perform at an inauguration that Trump won his initial inauguration, and he went out in a curse-filled diatribe, calling people Uncle Toms, and if you would ever do that, we know what you really are, and blah 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 blah. So in 4 years, Snoop went from, I can't see how any black person would ever perform at an inauguration, to thank you for pardoning my best friend, to 4 years from that, which is today. I'll spin a few tunes at your dance party, and then I'm out. So that's the progression.
Once again,
Those are the facts.
yeah, and once again, like I said, well, business, wherever the
Right.
money flows, and we got to be real about this. The system is built upon business
Well, and
relationship.
I want to step away from that for just a second
Mhm.
because you're right, and I don't think there's really much discussion to be had around. It's a business, like Jay-Z said.
Mhm.
At first, I was a businessman. Now I'm a businessman. I think that's one of the hardest lines ever.
Yeah.
I used to be a businessman. Now I'm a
Mhm.
businessman. Right?
Yeah.
So let's step away from that for a second.
Mhm.
Um, Nelly is supposed to perform at this thing too.
Yep.
It was 2000. Was it 25 years ago?
Mhm.
Nah, man. Maybe it was 2010. I don't know. It was a long time ago
Yeah.
when Nelly first came out and did Country Grammar.
Mhm.
Right? All right. For so that you don't get in any trouble. You do not own the rights of the lyrics to this song, right?
Right.
Copywritten.
Right.
I'm going down,
Yeah. Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There's a line in there. Very famous line is, "Let me in now. Let me in
Mhm.
now. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now." Okay. Am I the only one that recalls that lyric? Right? So Nelly shows up 20 years later or whatever, and
Mhm.
Donald Trump is like, "Yo, I'll pay you to perform at my ball." He's
Mhm.
cashing in his chips, and he's calling the bluff of a lot of entertainers who were down with him before, but when he got into politics, all of a sudden that he's the worst thing that ever happened.
They got
Right?
weird.
And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mhm.
Donald Trump is pretty smart for doing that
Mhm.
because you're going to look like a hypocrite when the tape starts coming out with you singing lyrics with his name in it. He's
Mhm.
partying your friends. You were
Mhm.
at parties with him. Blah 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 blah. And Trump is like, okay, you can call me. You can call me what you want to call me. But at one point in time, you had to call me your friend. And so now the chickens are coming home to roost, and we're getting to see who really was down with him. Not. I read a statistic somewhere. I don't know how true it is. So people can fact check me, please. Please fact check and reach out to put it
Yes.
in the chat,
Please
whatever,
do
if it's out
correct
there.
us. Please correct.
Correct it. I
We don't
read a
mind it.
stat that said at one point in time, 61% of the songs on the top 100 rap chart
Mhm.
made mention of Donald Trump in their songs.
Wow.
61%. That
Wow.
means 6 of every 10 songs had a reference to Donald Trump. Now, before the MAGA group starts jumping up and down and clapping their hands and saying, "See, rappers like Donald Trump, black folks love Donald Trump," they were referring to him in the same vein and sometimes the same sentence mentions as Tony Montana,
Mhm.
Don Corleone.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think of some other the
Yeah.
mobsters.
Yeah.
They literally put Donald Trump in the same category as mobsters. Hard stop. I want to do the awkward pause so people can digest that. So before you start
Went over
jumping up and
some
down and
people's
going,
head, Carlin.
"Oh, rappers loved him," they love Tony Montana too. They love Bugsy Malone too. They love Don Corleone. They love they they mention Donald Trump as a mobster. Why? Why? Because back then, at the height, before The Apprentice and all that, he was the king of Atlantic City,
Mhm.
gambling, casinos. He bought the Miss America pageant. Well, wait a second. We can. Hey, Toots. Hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? And
Grab them in
it's
the biscuits.
that grab them in the biscuits. That was well, who was that? Digital Underground. Digital Underground. Yeah,
Yeah.
your Adventist people are gonna wince at this, so that we know all these lyrics. But hey. So it is the respect or that they're paying to him
Mhm.
is that of the kind that they give gangsters.
Yeah.
So if you want to be proud of that, be proud of that.
And,
But
and,
what I'm saying is those are just the facts. That's not even my opinion. Those are the
and,
facts.
and let's just remember, historically speaking, gangsters were the one that got a lot of black figures into the entertainment industry singing.
Yes.
That's what people don't understand. They like
Yes,
their
the
stuff.
Cotton Club back in Harlem. Well, you were related to I'm not saying Cab Calloway was
Yeah.
involved in that. What I'm saying is the mob scene in Harlem during that
Yeah.
time was owned by the Italian mafia, and the best entertainers back then were your big band leaders, your tap
Mhm. Mhm.
dancers, your singers, and
Mhm.
things like that. People like your relative Cab Calloway.
And so what happens is they brought him in, they broke racial barriers, even though it was kind of a slow roll for them and stuff like that. Not for everybody, it was a slow roll, but they did it because they liked him. And you know, you can go to the rat, all that kind of stuff there. You can look at the history of it, and hopefully you study your history. And so what I'm saying is like when I look at this, I said this is more of a business decision than anything else. It's more like in business, if people understand business, you owe favors.
And I will add this. Yeah, you're right. And I would expand on that. I think even more than business, I do think this is a mafioso style dealing.
Mm-hmm.
It's called loyal. What does Donald Trump preach more than anything? Loyalty. Be loyal to me,
Yeah.
and I'll be loyal to you. And you know what I mean? Show me your loyalty or whatever. And let's be honest, Snoop comes from gang culture, where loyalty is everything, like above everything. You know, I'm down with. Hey,
That,
I'm
that-
down with the Rolling 20s, man. Crip walk. Let me not get in trouble and start throwing up crip signs, but I'm just saying, you know,
mhm.
that is the culture he understands. And
Yeah.
so Trump has tapped into the thing like, all right, man, you know, you loyal. All right, I'm a pardon your boy. I don't even know what Harry O did, right? I mean, I suppose that's a quick Google search. We could look it up, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that he wasn't in prison for no reason,
You
right?
know,
And so Trump to pardon him at the last minute, that's a move on his part. Forget what Snoop does. That's a move on Trump's part to buy some loyalty,
yeah.
right? Okay, all right, Snoop. And it was a great move. He probably could not predict that Snoop would be the most popular figure in 2024. What
Yeah.
he did at the Olympics was incredible.
Hmm.
He made $500,000 a day.
Yeah.
He made $500,000 a day just for being Snoop and
Hmm.
showing up. That is strategic positioning. And I'm saying this all devoid of ethics and morality and all that other stuff. I'm just saying straight business, like you said, straight business. This is a masterclass move. And as it pertains to strategic planning culturally, like how's Snoop not going to be loyal to Trump now? His best friend basically owes him his freedom.
Yeah. But then they're going to say, well, you fell on the way of Kanye and all the other stuff there. Different situation, same results. It's still dealing with the whole thing of finances. At the end of the day, we got to deal with one another. What are you going to bargain? You know what I'm saying? And that's where, you know, and what is what's your loyalty threshold? Some people ain't loyal to nobody. We've experienced that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro,
Yes.
and to be like, nah, you know, I ain't gonna help you out. Like, okay, then what are you doing here? You're giving, you know, you're not being fair. And what we're really talking about is just what is business and what is really fair. And are we trying to get over on each other? Because you know what I'm saying? That's a very weird line with business because everybody's trying to get over on each other and game each other. You know what? Don't hate the player, hate the game is what they say. But let's just be real. If you're always a gamey person, that's why you get a little murky and muddy because you have no value system that you're going to stand on or whatever value system. I'm not saying Snoop doesn't have a value system. He definitely does. But what I'm saying is your value system determines your decision, and you should be able to state that. Hey, this is my value. And people may not agree with you, but they can always understand you. You know,
Yeah. I don't think that we're going to be in an age of agreement. I'm just being honest with you. I think we're so divided. And you know, I'm going to take heat for this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say rightfully so. I had a very consequential conversation with somebody I love. Uh, and he and I are very close. He's white, I'm black. We're around the same age. He grew up in rural Alabama,
mm-hmm.
and I grew up in rural Michigan. Right? We have a whole lot in common.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I'm black and the fact that he's white, there's a different. We live in two different Americas, and he doesn't see it that way, right? And so when it comes down to business, he doesn't understand. Well, he does now.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't understand that like it or love it, agree with it or don't agree with it. There's a difference in my business and your business.
Yeah.
And there is. There just is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an excuse. It's not a cry party. It's not a reason to just lay it flat on and say, I can't do this, I can't do that, or I'll never be this, I'll never be that. No. But for it, he made the statement to me, when it comes to business, I don't see color. And I said, when it comes to business, I need you to see color.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need you to understand you're dealing with somebody who's not starting from the same starting point that you did.
Yeah.
Again, this is not about, oh, I'm making excuses or whatever. I said, But if you can explain to me why the median income for a black family is lower than that of a white family, we got the same education, we live in the same neighborhood, we live in the same America. Why
Same
is it
jobs, same job.
same
Listen,
jobs,
same
but I'm
job.
paid less?
Yeah.
Why? Why? Because I want less? Because I don't know how to negotiate? Well, why? And it was that one statistic that he said, I don't have an answer for that. And I said, why don't you have an answer? Because you don't want to accept the answer that's there? Because what is the only difference between me and you if I'm getting paid less?
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Same
got the
job,
same education,
paid less.
same job that you do, and it's all the same. He said, Carlin, so what does that mean? I said, because what this means is that when you see me, don't deny that I'm black. Understand that I'm black, and that will help you understand how to deal with me, how to treat me, how to do business with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to understand. Now, wait a second. This guy may not have all the resources that I have because the statistics show that he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I give a little bit of consideration for that, we can deal on an even playing field. And that only comes from you looking at me and understanding where I come from. Not that I'm going to stay there or be stuck there, or victim mentality, or all the other cop outs they like to throw out there. It's like really understand that there are two different Americas that we live in, but it doesn't mean we can't succeed. It doesn't mean we can't be fair or equitable. It just means it takes a little bit of effort, and that's all I'm saying. When it comes, just a little bit of effort, right? And it will make and you can make the playing field the same. Because the biggest thing is, we're talking about the United States. Throw it out there. He's going to repeal DEI today.
Mm-hmm.
So he said he is, right? Yeah. Oh, it's DEI. It was taking good jobs away. It was giving people just because they're black. We know that's not the reason, but they've skewed it that way so that they don't have to be fair and equitable,
Right.
right? And I don't care about DEI as long as you're fair and equitable. We wouldn't need DEI if you were fair and equitable. We wouldn't need the Rooney Rule in the NFL if you actually did want to interview black head coach for a head coach for the job.
And
I don't even care if you hire them. Just interview them.
Let's just be real. We just saw a situation. We talk about him all the time. Deion Sanders just wanted to be an assistant coach. That's all he did. He worked his way on his way up. The route he had to take, let's just be real, most of the white coaches in the NFL have not taken. It is what it is. So he just showed another way for us to take. Hey, look, it may be a longer route, but if you really want to do this, you can succeed doing it this way. Because we're not going to always get those fair opportunities. Because you got people in there that just frankly, I just don't feel comfortable with you, Todd, because I was raised differently. And we got to understand this. When you come from a different background and you were taught something that's wrong, that I'm not a human being, let's just be realistic. That's where it stems from. And that's the problem. And then when you call yourself a Christian on top of that, and you say that, that's not even biblical. I had to take it there because, and I say this all the time, we can get rid of affirmative action, we can get rid of all this stuff, but we never get rid of evolution being taught in schools with all these Christians. Is that by accident or is that by design? Think about that. There's people that actually believe in evolution, don't really believe in God like that. I've had conversations with my colleagues. A lot of people don't. They think they're God in their own universe, a lot of them. That's why we have this worship thing instead of a human thing. You know what I'm saying? You're having a bad day, let's respect one another. But if I view myself higher than anybody else, I view myself as a godlike figure because I have position and power. I'm going to take advantage of it. You don't look at me like this. Don't stare at me. I got an attitude. Don't raise your tone. All of a sudden, I become more aggressive instead of more human and say, hey, you know what? Let's have an understanding. That's all we're saying. Understand one another. You know what I'm saying? Have some empathy. You know what I'm saying? The greatest among you must first be a what? Servant. Not a God. Small G.
Yeah. I believe things are getting worse, and you know how to say that things get worse before they get better. The only better that I see coming is, sorry to hear me overly spiritual. It's the second coming of Christ, and prophecy says the love of many shall wax cold. I witnessed an event on Friday at my son's basketball game where a white woman got up and yelled across the way to a black man, "Sit down and shut up."
Mm.
And the fallout from that we're still dealing with as this is being taped. This is 2025. And it wasn't the opposing team. It was the same team. It was a woman from the same school. And it is the tacit approval to be vitriolic, divisive, and racist. And where does that come from? It comes from the top. I'm sorry, but it does. We're making it acceptable to be unacceptable, and it's just gonna get worse. So Snoop Dogg. So to bring it full circle, Snoop Dogg performing at the Crypto Ball tonight makes no never mind to me. It doesn't move my needle one way or the other. I know why he's doing it. He's doing it because of gang loyalty, right? He is, and you know what? I'm not gonna even judge him for that. Like, yo, bro, this is your best friend. He was gonna spend life in prison or whatever it was, and somebody got him out, and that somebody asked you to perform for him. It's one night of your life. I can't say that I wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good friend.
That's a good friend. I mean, and that he's willing to risk his fan base to fulfill a promise that wasn't really a promise. I'm not going to sit here and say that he promised that he didn't know if he would get reelected, but I'm pretty sure that Trump was like, you know, hey, if I ever get back in, I got to have, you know,
owe me one.
Right. Now, I will also say this, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. You're right about the business part of it. Remember years ago when Michael Jordan took heat, something about Republicans or whatever. He said Republicans buy Jordans too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's understand something. How old is Snoop Dogg? How many more new albums does he have in him? Okay. There's a whole group of people. I guarantee you, the MAGA world, they know who Snoop Dogg is, but they may not have ever listened to any of his music. He's going to open up a whole world of people that are going to go, hey, baby, there you go. Look up that Snoop Dogg. You know, it sounds good or whatever. And guess what? They're going to like his music because his music is fire. And so he could regenerate a whole new life for his catalog. Now, his original fans may fall off, but they've already bought all his music. He's already made all his money off of them. He's got a whole new green field out in front of him to make money off of. And it could happen with who knows? I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying I'm not saying it won't. And that right there, that's good business.
At the end of the day, he's done a lot of good for the community. He's done a lot of good, still doing good. You know, and sometimes you need an ambassador to deal with different people. And like I said, I know we're coming up to the minute. Really. And we're going to let you go. But I think this is a real good conversation. Please put like, share, tell us your thoughts on it in comments, whether you agree, disagree, or whether information is off. We would love to hear from you. And like I said, we're not trying to disparage anybody here on this show. We're trying to uplift people and just give a different perspective of looking at something, because a lot of people don't realize that God is still on the throne. And let me tell you guys something. Don't mess with God. Just because you got power and position, or just because you got money and wealth, the equalizer is God. He takes care of his kids. Till that, on that note, we wish everybody well. Till next time, thank you, Con, for coming on the show, and we'll see you next week on Mom and Dad Talks.